Hello. At least a few of you are wondering, what's the point? Is he really going to ask me to do that problem on the exam? Do I really need to understand probability that well? In short, the answer is no, but you should have learned some ideas from it. So I'm not going to ask you to open a Starburst pack or that, but I might ask you to think about something. I'm trying to give you another way to think about probability rather than just randomly guessing. And so let's take an example of rolling 2 dice and getting a 10. What's the probability of doing that? Well, if you start to think about it, you start to realize when I roll a dice, I have 6 options. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's really 6 ways, 6 possibilities on the first dice. After you roll the first dice, that second dice could have 6 possibilities, right? Now, you might be thinking, well, what if I roll them both at the same time? Well, I'm going to shrink this down. You're right, you could roll them both at the same time, but like we talked on the Starburst problem, it really ends up being the same thing in the end, okay? If you count, let's say you count 2, 1 and 1, 2 as the same thing, it's going to show up twice as often as, say, a 2, 2. All right? And so if we look at this and we think of this as the first dice and this is the second dice, you can see how many possibilities are there. Well, here's 1. You could get 1, 1. Here's a second 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. There's 6 different possibilities if you get a 1 on the first dice, 6 on the second dice, 6 on the third, 6 on the fourth, and so on, all the way out. So we end up with 6 possibilities times 6 possibilities. There's 36 possibilities. Okay. How many of those possibilities will give me a 10? Well, I could get a 6 and a 4, I could get a 4 and a 6, and I could get a 5 and a 5. So 3, that means 3 out of 36. If I reduce 1 out of 12 is the probability of getting a 10. And so I do want you to be able to think about probability and think about kind of complex situations and say, well, can I break this down into a first and a second? If so, what's my sample space? How many possibilities would I have? And how many of those possibilities will give me what I'm interested in? And so hopefully this has been helpful for you to understand probability better.